might not wanna get close. We a little wild war, covered in tattoos. Run it up, taking all the views. Stepping on place, feeling the fear. I know you feeling it in the air. Whole squad wearing all black. Motivation looking real bad. You might not wanna get close. Raising a fire alone. We ain't never needed nobody. Give me 6 feet, this is my party. Ain't got no feelings, we heartless. Take a peek inside the darkness. Blow up the spot, then we running. Ready or not, here we coming. Somebody better say a prayer for me. Tonight may get a little crazy. You can meet me outside, but you better buckle up. It's a wild ride. Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild side. Yeah. Party till 5 in the morning. Do it again in the morning. Do it like we did this ride, man. I think the government watching. Minister perfect society. Struggling with my sobriety. Struggling with my anxiety. Are you feeling the insanity? Anger inside of me. There is a war in me. And it keep trying to me. Blinded by all of the vanity. Snakes all around and they rattling. Tell them to shut up the chattering. Blow up the spot, then we running. Ready or not, here we coming. Somebody better say a prayer for me.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am Will Bard, usually host of the Cold Beer Confessional, but tonight we are here on Cold Beer Court. We are hosting a debate tonight, and the topic of that debate is CERN. What is its purpose? What is its nature? And possibly what's come from it being restarted or currently running or whatever. And the people debating tonight, the first one we're going to start with is Miss Lori. Miss Lori, if you could introduce yourself and your position, I would appreciate it.
Sandra Swan. I am the owner and host of Global Watchman News on YouTube, Exposing Satanic World Government on Facebook. My stance I'm going to be taking is more of the spiritual element of CERN, opening up portals and interdimensional teleportation.
Very, very interesting. And with her on the same team is Eric Spitfire. Eric Spitfire, if you introduce yourself and your position, please.
Thank you for having me on. Eric Spitfire. My favorite position is 69.
I appreciate you letting us know that position. Do you have an opening position on CERN?
Doesn't sound yeah, like this is a battle of principalities and spiritual warfare when it comes to CERN. That's my position.
I gotcha. And on the opposing side, or at least we think they'll disagree, first up would be from Stuck in the Middle. It's both of them, but first up is Eli. Your position on CERN and your opening statement, please.
Well, yes, Stuck in the Middle, also solo channel Progressive Patriot. But aside from that, I would like to talk about the achievements of CERN and I guess more so of the allegations from the spiritual side and to maybe bring it down to a more level base area where we can all kind of understand. So I guess that's all I got.
I got you. And his partner on the same team, that would be Josh from Stuck in the Middle. Your position on CERN and your opening statement, please.
Opening statement and position is going to be pretty much the same thing, all convoluted together. But my stance is I did not force my way into this debate. Eli chose me after removing someone else from a debate, I suppose.
I apologize, forging thought. I apologize.
This is my time. This isn't your time. So you got to let me talk, okay? I don't know why you did that. I'm joking. I love you.
How dare you?
I know there are some people out there who are concerned about my conduct. I would just like to respectfully say, piss off. And also to Eric, does spirituality take into account your favorite position, 69? So
I see that you said concerned. I see what you did there. CERN, concerned. Go ahead.
Uh-oh. And of course, I said I'm Will Bard, host of the Cold Beer Confessional, Cold Beer Condemned, Cold Beer Conspiracies. Now, YouTube won't even host this, but our co-host tonight is Sage. Sage, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm a longtime listener, first-time co-host. I want to thank you for allowing me to come on. I'm not exactly sure how I got here, but I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you for coming on and helping us co-host. So tonight All I'm going to do is try to play neutral moderator, make sure nobody's talking over each other. It doesn't get too far off in left field, and not too hostile. We're going to try to keep it respectful. I've warned the chat to keep it respectful. No repeated attacks or disrespectfulness to people on the panel or other people in chat. No dogpiling, stuff like that. Other than that, we open the floor to open debate. So whoever wants to start it off, let's get started on CERN.
Ding, 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 ding.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Quite the opening.
The mute button quite often.
Hey, wait a second. You're not the only one with a goddamn delay.
Oh, you want me to do it without the delay? All right, take two. Let's get ready to rumble! I can do it without that too. God.
Here we go.
There you go.
You can't have a proper debate without eardrums. I'll tell you that much. So.
You already won the mic.
I think we should start with the scientific part of it. So Eli and Josh, why don't you guys start?
All right, so I have a very interesting rebuttal already. Okay, I am more than happy to talk about some of the baseline stuff regarding CERN. However, I have a position regarding some of the claims, as I have as a admirer, fan, and a bit of a contrarian. Listen to a couple of your episodes, Global News, Lori. So some of your claims, and I'm not pivoting, I'm happy to talk about what I've learned about CERN. Some of your claims, I would think the burden of proof would lay with that, with the person who has the claim, such as like that the scientists are opening portals, like literally to hell, or so that is my start off question.
Okay. Back in when CERN first started, back in early 2000s, Sergio Bertolucci, who was the director for research and scientific computing at CERN, specifically stated that that CERN could and would possibly be opening up portals to other dimensions. So that comes directly from, like I said, his name is Sergio Bertolucci. And he was the one that was at the facility when they first started up. I believe it was in 2008. And there were some strange things that were happening around Geneva, Switzerland at the time when they first went online. So that's where I get that from.
Can I just chime in real quick? The first thing, CERN began in 1954. What you're referring to, Lori, in 2008, that's when the large
Yes.
Hadron Collider was created.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And then in 2012 is when the quote unquote Higgs boson, aka Higgs field, aka God particle, was discovered.
Yes. July 4th of that year.
Yep. Independence Day.
Yes.
We figured out. Do you know what the Higgs boson particle is? Do you know what the Higgs field is?
Well, the Higgs boson was deemed the God particle. It is what they wanted to look into the first few seconds of the Big Bang theory of the creation of the universe. So that was their experiments at that time, was smashing the atoms and trying to get that one specific what do I want to say? That one specific collision, which they did. They successfully did it.
Right. That's when they discovered the Higgs boson. As early as the 60s, they were well aware of this thing that was going on within particles, within atoms, that was contributing to something. They knew this something had a major role, but it wasn't until, as you pointed out, July 4th, 2012, did they find the Higgs boson particle, the Higgs field.
Yeah, it was a fundamental particle. They knew that it existed, but until the time that and that was the main reason that they built the Large Hadron Collider, was to discover this Higgs boson particle.
Do you know what it is? Do you know exactly, in a roundabout way, why it was an important discovery?
And I'd like to add, like, in a layman's term, none of us here are physicists. We're doing the best we can with our information, but I too would be interested in your understanding of it.
Well, it's the invisible energy field that the universe produced, the mass particles when it collided, and that energy was released. That was the Higgs boson.
And what it does is there's 4 specific forces: gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force. And it governs the action of weak nuclear force, which takes place in a very small area. That's why it was very hard to find.
That's
Gravity, right. Electromagnetism stretches across, we kind of see it in our everyday lives. And the Higgs boson, that particle, it generates mass out of
Can you
nowhere.
name those four forces again?
The 4 forces are gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force.
Right.
Got it.
Peter Higgs.
That's true.
Peter Higgs was a Scottish physicist, and he was the one that theorized that this particle existed.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, as early as the 60s, and he was the one who was allowed to. Him and what was his partner who they both introduced the particle on July 4th? I forget his name.
Peter Higgs and.
I mean, Higgs is the one famously known for it, but yeah, he did have a partner.
But not only does it give governance to weak nuclear force, but as what we were just talking about, it gives mass to the elementary particles. And for a lot of the times when people started, kind of theorizing things, like they just gave electron mass. It already has mass, and it was very important to figure out how an electron got mass, because if an electron doesn't have mass and you lived in a world where they didn't contain that, you wouldn't have atoms, and without atoms you wouldn't have molecules. Without molecules you wouldn't have chemistry. Without chemistry you wouldn't have biology. Right. You wouldn't have life. So
that's why it's called the God particle, because without it you have basically no physics.
Exactly.
So doesn't that achievement alone at least produce some positivity in what it is they're trying to accomplish?
Let's just say that, guys, I am not going to diminish the scientific doors that that the CERN has opened up. It has done fantastic in the lines of physics. What my stand and what Eric's stand is the fact that in achieving these goals along the way, other things have been uncovered and discovered along the way.
Such as?
Well, if I may interject, we've had several scientists come out and say that they're seeing things come out of this CERN that they've never seen before, and it's actually changed their stance on believing in a higher power. That to start with.
I would like to add 2 things. I mean, for example, we do have 3 brand new, never before known of atoms, particles that we could never see, didn't know it existed as a result of CERN. But what was it regarding the scientists? What have they come out and it changed their stance in what way? Like it made them religious or otherwise?
Oh no.
That's interesting, because from a physicist point of view, scientific point of view, their discovery of the Higgs boson particle completed what is called the standard model of particle physics, which accounts for everything you and I are, which accounts for people, planets, stars, everything you've seen, touched, felt, tasted. That is all part of the standard model of particle physics. Now, it's not what is, it's more like rules, and we still don't know how to play the game yet, but it's given us a foundation to essentially, kind of play that proverbial game. So,
and to answer that question that was asked, religious, no, but they did start believing in some sort of other higher power that was not within their scientific realm, if that makes sense.
So
it doesn't.
I was actually unaware that any scientist.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
I was unaware that any scientist walked away believing in a higher power as a result.
I mean,
you know anything?
I can do a quick. I can find the documentation on that. There was several scientists that changed their belief about scientism and creatism.
Wow, I didn't know. Like the
Sure.
research that I've done. I wish I compiled notes like my brother over here. I'm actually really proud of him. Just making it awkward. But
That's weird.
yeah, sorry. I'm just you're smarter than I always thought.
It's always a good move to have a pen and paper.
Yeah, no, all this time I never thought of one. But
I can name one person in particular that actually warned us about CERN, and that was Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking warned us about the God particle, and he said that this. Okay, let's back up just a second. When CERN first came online, we were only talking about a very small teravolt of energy that was used to produce it. And after they found the God particle, then they shut down CERN, and they decided, you know what? We found the God particle, but we've also found other things that are raising our suspicions here. Let's do a little bit of tweaking on this. So what they did is they shut down CERN. They replaced the Satan, SATAN magnets, the solar axion telescope antenna. That's what those magnets are called. They replaced those, and in 2015 they started up again at a higher teravolt. When they ran those experiments at that time, that was when they started seeing these strange things. People were starting to report things. The Schumann resonance was reacting to CERN. So again, what they did is they decided to shut it down again, and again replace these Satan magnets with bigger ones. And then on April 22nd of this year, they started back up at 13.6 teravolts, the highest energy level any machine has ever seen in the history of man. Stephen Hawking warned us at that lower level, at that first level of teravolts being used. He warned us that the God particle could essentially kill us if science gets enough funding for that. So he, at that point, when it first started, warned us about what could take place if we didn't put a handle on it and we didn't stop it at that first level.
Right. I mean, you're talking about smashing. Just real quick to interject. You're talking about smashing freaking your atoms at nearly the speed of light now.
Microscopic.
Yeah, very
even less than microscopic, but
right. Nearly the speed of light, though. What are the implications of that?
Just to backtrack just a little bit, why not the religious aspect? I go back to the idea that science now, because of the Higgs boson, has the complete theory. I'll use that word because that's what it is, but they have a 100% complete theory because of that Higgs boson of what we are. And in that vision of what we are, in that model of particle physics of what we are, it doesn't leave room for something higher than.
Right. Just to be clear, I don't do religious. I do spiritual.
Spiritual.
Big difference.
Yes.
Huge
Yes,
difference in religious.
I'll definitely confirm.
Make that clear.
Concur.
Concur.
Stephen Hawking, you mentioned, and Lori, you said this, and that was a key word I kind of pointed up, is like, you said when it first came out, he was wary. And as we kind of discovered in 2008, there was that one guy who also stood up and said, this could lead to black holes. So I think
Walter Wagner, right? The one that tried to sue them and it got thrown out and he had a shady past. Yeah.
And we're about 10 years now removed from that. And I don't want to say that's not, my point to that comment is more so to say, like, these were concerns that philosophers and physicists had. It wasn't necessarily meant for, the everyday Joe Schmo to be like, oh yeah, no, that's our concern. They were just kind of kicking this, they were waxing prophetic, however you want to say it. They were pondering.
Not to put down John Q. Citizen or anything, but yeah, it's much easier for them to kind of comprehend. It's their specialty.
So I mean, I would
concerns. I love how you keep putting CERN in there. By the way, it's awesome.
I would love to know if we could tap into where Stephen Hawking is now, what he would have felt about it 10 years later. I would love to know how.
Well, he was concerned about it at a lower level, at the first level of teravolts. Can you imagine what he would be thinking about right now as we go into the 13th?
Not to go conspiracy theorist on y'all, but I mean, there's nobody that can actually say that he was actually speaking those words. Listen, those could have been piped in by anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I digress.
Remember when the atomic bomb was first created, there was literally a fear of setting the atmosphere on fire.
Absolutely.
Now, when we set off atomic bombs, that fear really isn't there because it was such new territory. That was a fear they had to ponder. Just because this was a fear back in 2014, 2008 doesn't necessarily mean that it carries over to 2022, because besides the beginnings of the LHC and maybe a year or two after that, those concerns really haven't been repeated as much as they haven't been reiterated as much as they have just been repeated from that year. So there isn't a 2022 article coming up saying, oh, we could be doing this or that, at least as far as I've researched. So that's one of my big issues with it, is it seems like that fear is old, but people are just now grasping onto it every time they reboot up CERN. It just started back up in July 22.
Not really, because when you look at when the date that CERN first started up, which was last week, within 14 hours, or I'm sorry, within 24 hours of it starting up, we had a crack in the Earth's magnetic field that lasted for 14 hours. Also on that same day, we had a huge storm that brought green skies, tornado-like winds in South Dakota. And South Dakota just happens to have a connection to CERN. They're doing an underground. Scientific. I don't even want to know what you call it. They're looking for dark matter, and so we've got 2 or 3 things that are in the Schumann resonance has been having this strange hum. So coincidence or not, we've got, one thing I could say, look at, okay, maybe the Schumann resonance is a little bit off. Okay, maybe this crack in the atmosphere, okay, maybe that's just kind of normal, and
it happens all the time. The crack in the atmosphere with the
but literally within 24 hours of CERN starting back up, we've got 3 major things all pointing to CERN.
Can I ask a question right quick? Would let's see, Lori and Eric, would you have a normative statement about it? Would you say that like we ought to or we should about the LHC, like we ought to shut it down and this is why, or do you think that it should keep running? Or
answer that, no. In fact, I love science, good science, not junk science. I look behind who's running the science and what they're running it for. What's the reason that this is being done? But to say that I'm here to debate science versus spirituality, that'd be ridiculous.
Eric, do you think CERN is junk science?
No.
Okay, because without CERN, you, I, CBC, Sage, none of us would be here.
We wouldn't have this.
They are the World Wide Web inventors. We wouldn't have this type of technology.
Third achievement listed is computing itself.
I thought Al Gore.
I would never. I would never go out and publicly demand that it be shut down. They're doing fantastic things there in the name of science, but when you've got to look at the other part of it too. They found.
I would say it's a reach to say that we wouldn't be here without the CERN.
Well, we wouldn't.
I disagree.
No.
It's literally
the World Wide Web was invented or was created.
We wouldn't be on this live stream, I think is what they meant.
The World Wide Web couldn't have been created other than from CERN.
It's more difficult to prove a negative. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like I can't really.
But the science within CERN is directly attributed to computing
And the World Wide Web.
And specifically, yeah.
I agree with that.
What are the 3 major things, if I may ask, of course, Lori, what are the 3 major things that you just referenced to that happened that would make cause for alarm for somebody like you?
Okay. Within 24 hours of them starting it up, we had I don't know if you guys saw the storm in South Dakota. It was very green. It was very strange. It was very eerie. And it just so happens that there's a $60 million project using a specialized detector that is located a mile under South Dakota in one of the uranium mines. They're trying to find dark matter. That was within 24 hours. Within 24 hours of it starting up, we had a crack in the Earth's magnetic field that lasted for 14 hours. Yes, that happens a lot, but within 24 hours of this. And also the Schumann resonance is now, there's some strange hum that's going on. It's like the planet is kind of vibrating at a different level. which, I mean, look at where CERN is using the power that they've never, no other machine in the history of man has ever used this much power to perform these scientific experiments. They have gone where no man has gone before, basically. So how do we even understand, or how do we even know the ramifications of this?
With that said, how do you know it's bad? If you don't know what you don't know, why do you assume it's negative?
Are we on the same page as far as believing that they're in the process of creating portals to other realities?
Actually, I want to mention something specific regarding that. So back in the what was it, Josh? The 654?
54, when CERN, September 29th, 1954 was the creation of CERN.
So leave it to our good old, even back then, the mainstream media, when the press started printing headlines about CERN, they chose to use the terminology portals. The scientific community at that time and up to this point still have always taken issue with them using that specific term. So
and that's why we're on here debating it, because I mean they're just they're splitting hairs when it comes to that.
Right, but I also kind of saw that.
Go ahead.
I kind of saw that story, like, you know, like, hey, science is opening new doors, and like, you know, there was a guy there smoking a cigarette with a green glass on. Like, wait a minute, we need something better.
we need to grab the public, Johnny.
They're opening portals, guys.
Yes.
Well, one of the most interesting connections between CERN is Saturn worship. If you ever heard of Jacob's ladder in the book of Genesis, one of CERN's goals is to create Jacob's ladder, reopen a portal, or whatever you want to call it, that exists between Earth and other planets, especially Saturn, when the planets were in alignment thousands of years ago. That's a theory.
Are we conflating?
Where does that theory come from? The Jacob's
Well, it comes from the book of Genesis.
No, but the idea that that's what CERN is trying to do. How
it
do
comes from the book of Genesis in the Bible?
they say CERN?
Jacob's ladder, the Tower of Babel, same thing.
Correct.
Wait,
And that's,
I just want to understand how are we getting directly to CERN? Is CERN quoted in the Bible, or is there another terminology used that you have conflated with CERN?
people are looking at where CERN is. CERN is actually built on the old Temple of Apollyon, which is biblical. You know,
Right.
they chose this spot for a reason. We've got
And again, some of this is Mayan mythology. You know,
they've
it's
got
what you may
Shiva,
believe, what others may
the
believe.
goddess of creation and destruction. They got Shiva, you know, outside of their facility. I mean, when you look at all of the symbology around CERN, it's hard to ignore the fact that there could be factions within CERN using this for an ulterior motive.
Right.
Well, I know it's not just the U.S. government involved in this. We have we're teamed with
It's
European
20 member
science.
states.
Yeah. There's 20 of the best, brightest minds doing this, and literally just doing the scientific process, deconstructing as much as possible, so we can understand, you know, some of the quintessential questions that we all have. You know, how did we get here? Mapping the Higgs boson. What was the time that existed before the Big Bang? I mean, all this is beautiful uncharted territory.
As we talk about this, I like to quote people who actually worked at CERN and had things to say about it, rather than just speculating. But I mean,
well, there's a lot of speculation going on right here with some
sure.
claims.
Hey, I've worked with some.
Goro Adachi discovered CERN's Large Hadron Collider machine appears to mirror celestial bodies, and he speculates that the machine could open a wormhole. See the Orion Stargate decoding the Large Hadron Collider.
What's this guy's name?
Goro Adachi.
So there's 2 people that actually work for him, you know, Sergio and
There's several.
And there is. Can I just ask a question? So if there was no metaphysical or spiritual aspect of this, why is it that they did this whole ritual, this dance ritual at CERN?
I was just about to ask about that and ask if we could play a video. I mean, what the hell is this craziness going on with the dancing going on? And
I
all
would be
this
disingenuous to turn away any evidence. Of course, please.
Are they just putting on an opera? It could be just a big spectacle, but there's a lot of satanic symbolism in these
Well,
You want
I'm,
me
I'm reading. So it's so there's a video going. It became popular in 2016.
correct?
And it purportedly shows several people dressed in black cloaks surrounding the statue of Hindu deity
Oh
Shiva.
no, that's different.
not that one,
That's
no.
like a fake
Are
assassin.
you talking about the opening ceremony?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
totally fake. That was not even. Yeah,
No,
that was.
we're talking about the opening of it.
I've got a video of the
Where they're
opening ceremony.
goat's horns and it's crazy. You've seen this, haven't you?
Yeah, you guys watch my screen for just a second, and we'll play it.
I want to know about that.
I'm never heard this. Full
Oh,
transparency.
no kidding. Wow. Yeah, this is
So this is from Daily Mail. This is going to be an abbreviated version, but you should be able to see my screen for just a second. Let me adjust it so the audience can see it too. Give me just a second. All right. So we got the first thing here. I guess you can see it on my screen, but it's a flyover, and then we're going to play the video. So let me get you some audio too. So.
looks like even your guest is looking over going, what the?
Remember, science, folks.
Science, folks.
Actually, I think I know what it is.
There, right there is the god Cernunnos, the god of the underworld.
Oh yeah, this is what it is.
Science, folks.
So while it's playing in the background, this is what you're watching here is a new audio visual concert called Origins, which is an adaptation of Life, A Journey Through Time, featuring the imagery of National Geographic photographer Franz Lanting and the music of Philip Glass, performed by the Orchestra de la Suisse Ramadan, conducted by Carolyn Kahn. So it's an adaptation of Life, A Journey Through Time.
Oh, so it's like
Well-
interpretive dance.
Yeah.
I mean,
using the god of Cernunnos, who is the god of CERN. It's the,
Right.
it's
That's our issue. I understand that.
that is, I think that right
concept
there
of-
is the issue. And I'm gonna read something to you. There is an incantation to the god Cernunnos, and it says, "The great god Cernunnos, open the door which hath no key, the door of the stars, where men come to thee." That, when you look at
Makes
everything,
sense.
this is what it is. CERN is the key to unlock the mysteries of everything, of creation, of the universe.
Right.
But
sounds like
what
science.
possibly could they also be opening up? Could they be opening up, the veil, breaking the veil into other dimensions? We've got director of research and scientific computing telling us that he's afraid that they're going to let something in. We've got other ones throughout the last 20 years that have said, look, there's something going on. We've got people,
Something going on is pretty broad, though, to be honest with you. There's
we've
something
got
going on.
eyewitnesses in Geneva, Switzerland, saying that they've seen things, strange things in the sky when CERN has been turned on. So, I mean, it's broad. Yes, you know what? When I came in to do this, I understood that you guys have the advantage because you have the scientific evidence in front of you.
Where?
So-
Okay, go ahead.
There's strange things in the sky. Are strange things automatically deemed some type of other being? You know what I mean? Like, there are things in science which, a normal everyday person, if they witness it, would be like, whoa, what the heck is that?
Sure.
Just because it's strange, don't necessarily mean it's nefarious.
Right, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not.
We talked before the show, not going too far off topic, but I mean, if we want to debate strange things in the sky, I'd love to talk about geoengineering and contrails versus geoengineering.
What was
When
that?
you look
That would
at
be a strange thing in the sky that everybody denies. Or
Denies.
most.
Kind of off topic. I mean, like there are
Well,
things
it's not
that have
really.
based in- no, well,
You're all about science, so
Mm.
let's talk about the science of geoengineering and contrails versus chemtrails. What's your take on that?
I mean, that's such a broad.
That's
Well,
Well, it's not. It's very
Like,
simple.
what do you mean? What's my take?
Contrail can
on
only last
chemtrails or
3 to 7
contrails?
seconds. Oh, go
Well,
ahead.
chemtrails are more of a conspiracy theory. Contrails are more of
Well,
what
they're
a-
not, and that's why I wanted to bring that up because I assumed that you would go there. So
Well, the
explain to
idea of
me,
chemtrails is a conspiracy theory, but the idea
you're
of
about science,
geoengineering-
I have a question. If you can explain to me how a high bypass turbo engine creates contrails, I'd like to hear it. I'll wait. That's what most jet planes use, which cannot create a contrail for longer than 3 to 7 seconds per science.
I just want to point out, like, we have done our research about CERN. Chemtrails is not something that, or
Well, no, it's a scientific question though.
So now we're gonna.
Yeah,
I
we're gonna get pretty far off topic.
I'm
I think-
sidebarring.
I think what he's saying is if you were going to talk scientific on things, the scientific is a broad term.
It's impossible that these clouds
is-
spread out.
As
Yeah,
is
but
spirituality, would you agree?
let's not pretend that there isn't also weather manipulation. So let's not conflate the two, thinking that
I
every contrail is a
completely believe
chemtrail
that.
and every chemtrail is a
My
contrail.
question wasn't
I'm
about
not
that though.
saying-
I wanted from a scientific view for you to tell me how which 95% planes use
Oh,
high
let me
turbo
pull out my
bypass
science
engines
degree.
can leave these
It's not
lingering
really
trails in
studied,
the
I
sky.
mean,
It's impossible scientifically. Is my point.
During my time with chemtrails, and because I was on the side of loose change for a while, and I was on that side, like I've come to pulled up, no, but I've come to understand a contrail. Can I explain it to you? No.
Sure.
But I do understand why, just as when NASA releases a new image.
I thought you were going to explain a contrail to me now.
Hang on, I'm making a point. Just as when NASA releases a new image, a lot of the times people claim, NASA's doctored this, it's doctored that, when in reality they're right, because the images released are an infrared image. They're kind of brown. It's many images put together to make a more complete image, and then they colorize it. So my point is, there's a little more nuance to what a chemtrail or a contrail is, but it's not necessarily nefarious.
There isn't a nuance. It's either it produces a contrail that lasts and spreads out for hours, or doesn't.
I'm not
There's
debating
no nuance to
contrail.
that.
I'm debating chemtrail or contrail.
I'm
Well,
out of my
off
depth when it
topic.
comes to this.
Again,
stuff.
my whole point was
You're
most
saying
planes use
chemtrails
high
Totally
turbo
off
bypass
topic.
engines, which do not create a contrail for longer than 5 seconds.
Sidetrack.
That was no.
Totally off topic.
Yeah, you're getting pretty far.
And then-
I don't think anybody's here to answer it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to hear the science behind that. I've debated scientists, very
Correct.
well-known scientists, about this, and none of them could give me the answer.
when we have
Can you get back on topic?
the contrail special, well, I'd be happy to go, toe to toe after.
Well, I mean, it was a simple question, and I did not get an answer.
Oh,
So
I-
we'll leave it at that and move on.
The definition of a contrail is exhaust gases cool and mix with surrounding air. The humidity becomes high enough, or equivalently, the air temperature becomes low enough for liquid water condensation to occur. So
Correct. Which a high turbo bypass engine, which over 90% of the jet planes use now, that doesn't happen. I'm still waiting for anybody to explain that to me. But
Can we get back on topic?
yeah, right. We'll get back on topic. I'll wait.
yeah, we'll look that up one day, and we'll
Circling
get back
back.
to you.
Circling.
Seriously,
Got it.
I don't have.
No, I love questions and I love finding answers, which is back to
Which is
the
why-
scientific method of.
He sounds a little mad. I'm not gonna lie.
No, not at all. I think we're all good. I think we're gravy.
Who, me? I'm not mad. I just
no,
got
no.
an answer, but I won't get one because I'm never going to get one because it's impossible for a high turbo bypass engine to produce a contrail. But I digress. God.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm trying to circle
Back to CERN.
To CERN.
Yeah, let's circle back.
It's killing me. It's killing me, Smalls. Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to, first off, like with respect to spirituality, and once being a spiritual person myself for many years, I understand looking through that lens. You know, I tended to, you know, see things and find more symbology in pretty much anything, and connect dots that I may have put there myself when I myself was spiritual, because I was at that time, and I mean no disrespect with this term, I use it only for myself. I was indoctrinated, and I just kind of manifested the conclusions based on that indoctrination. Once I kind of freed myself from that way of thinking, I was able to kind of just respect the science for what it is on certain things. But I am no physicist or scientist, so I cannot claim to be, you know, any smarter than any one of us here. But what I want to know is what is it that makes CERN so nefarious? Is it that you guys think CERN is playing God? Is man playing God? Are we finding answers that we don't deserve to know? Are we going to pay the price? And I do disagree
And
that
see, you know what? We can't answer those questions because we, like I said, we are going where no person has ever gone before. This machine is unlike anything in the history of humanity. We've
which to me
never
is
worked with 13.6 teravolts before.
that may, and I do understand. Like when I did my own research, I found myself getting a little scared, nervous about some of the accomplishments
You
of
had
CERN.
mentioned that to me. What things concerned you? Because I mean, I'd like to know what kind of changed your attitude about it. Because obviously you read something that raised your suspicions as well.
Oh, sure. I mean, it was a couple of years back articles that I found, but I wanted to understand entirely the Walter Wagner individual that decided to sue CERN along with a Spanish journalist unsuccessfully twice, and the Wagner had a pretty faulty background on his own, but
He was.
reading everything I did when I got this idea that they could somehow create a microscopic black hole, and apparently that could start eating everything in sight. But after I got more, like that was me when I was live and learning in real time. I've since had the time to educate myself, and based on recent information, I don't really have that fear of a black hole opening.
I do think the fear of the unknown plays a big role
Always.
in
Always.
people's
Absolutely.
curiosity into
Absolutely.
this stuff.
And when I had spirituality in my life, the unknown was always far more alarming to me, and I would fit pieces that I wanted to be there for my own sanity, for my own comfort, and it was just a way for me to think I understood things that I really did not.
You know what makes the guy, and science is beautiful because you're supposed to question it, but what makes the small number of people concerned about CERN more validated than the people who have benefited from CERN, you know, with all the type of particle accelerators, LHC, all the things that go in with CERN. You know, where's the 5149 when it comes to that, Eric or Lori?
I'm not sure what 5149 means. Never heard it before.
No, I'm saying like there's a 51.49% to it all. Like, is like why do you feel it's more negative than positive when we can focus on a lot more good things they've accomplished?
Because I'm looking at the ramification and the consequences of them using this, of, you know,
Which is what?
And in 2000 and let's see, when was it? Just give a second. April 25th of 2015, I think it was. There was, and this was across everything. It says there was a meeting during which Brad Scott suggested that the earthquake in Nepal on April 25th of that year coincided in some way with unusual activity at CERN. That was when they had a problem there. And when you're dealing with that much power that far under the ground, it's got to have some sort of consequences. It's going to have
seems plausible. That seems
I'd like to know why they used 3 6s That's something real basic, folks. Why
You know,
that was used as their logo?
Well, just to verify, we're not talking a small earthquake either. We're talking about a 7.8 that was
I
in
mean,
Nepal. So
3
so
sixes is kind of a stretch to call
I just
that
wanna say
3
that.
sixes.
Well, it is 3 6. It really is. If you could, host,
If
can you
you're
show
looking for
the
something, it
CERN
could be
and show
that.
the
You
3
also-
6s?
That's the manifest symbology of looking
There are
through
a
it.
lot
3
of
6s.
but the symbolism, esoteric symbolism alone at CERN. You've got the 3 6s. And
I've never seen a 6 formed like that. But by the way,
I mean,
it's
I can see it if I literally look
Would you
at
mind
it.
putting it on screen just so people can
Yeah, give me just a second.
If I'm
Might as
looking
well.
for it, I'll
Sure,
see it.
sure.
Let me resize it.
oh, you got it, Will? Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the CERN logo.
Actually, like the particle accelerators, it looks kind of like how they're above and below each other, kind of like like an eagle eye view of the circumference of the area that is CERN, more than 3 6s.
Huh,
To your
I thought
first, they wouldn't understand what you're talking about, though. It'd look like 3 6s to them. It is 3 6s.
Is there any way you
If you go in with that bias,
put
yeah.
up on the screen what I'm showing at my bottom of my screen? Can you way of pulling it up?
I don't. Sage, do you see what she's showing?
No.
Here,
Nope.
look, so you know what CERN looks like from the outside too.
If I throw you a link in the private chat, can
Yeah,
you pull it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Private chat to me, I can get it to Will.
There you if you can go to timestamp 2526 of that link that I just sent you in the private chat.
I got it, Sage. 2526.
I wanted to just say thank you to everybody that contributes to this channel. As a fan myself, I appreciate it. Sage and CBC are some of my favorite content creators. Show hosts.
Don't be. We're not judges.
Aside from that, I mean, I hate. Okay.
If you look at the eagle eye view of all the colliders in CERN, if you look at my screen above, that's kind of what they got going on. It's kind of like an eagle eye view of their facilities. That's the vibe I get. I don't get
One
that.
could even speculate. Yeah, that's what they were trying to, replicate. Even though there's like a third, but yeah, if you have, I'm just gonna call it a bias. You're going to see what you want to see, because yeah, had you not mentioned it, perhaps I wouldn't have put it together, or maybe I would have. I mean, now we'll never know. Just like how
Well, that and the opening ceremony and the dances and the goat horns.
And then
I
you've
mean,
got
just
you've
craziness.
got
Oh, we already talked
Shiva,
about
you've
that
got
was,
Coronas, you've
that was-
got. I mean,
It was just theater. We got it.
by the way, that's from a video that I did in
Sounds
2000.
Why they chose those exact images that talk about? Can we talk about the statue that's outside of CERN?
Shiva.
Why they
Alright.
chose Goddess of Destruction?
right before
It
we
just
do.
seems like we're getting off topic.
Well, no, right before.
Well,
we
no.
do,
How are we getting off topic about talking about the statue outside of CERN?
No, Eric, I'm okay with that. Let me just say one thing, and
I thought we were done with the 6s.
yeah, no, I'm not even going with the 6s, brother.
I'm just wondering why I would say we're getting off topic with that. That's completely on topic. Go ahead.
Because we're not talking about like the
We're talking about
outside
CERN.
facility, like what it looks like. We're talking about what.
No,
they
we're
do.
I'm asking you why there is a Goddess of Destruction outside of
Let's see
CERN.
what Eli's
I
got
mean,
to say.
literally,
and then
they're
we'll
colliding
go to that.
particles.
How-
Maybe it's like a play. They're
See, my
colliding.
issue, man, is if you wanna do this type of thing where you're gonna do ad hominem attacks, I ain't down for that.
Wait, I
Okay,
didn't hear- I didn't
talking
hear-
about the statue Shiva, the Goddess of Destruction, which is outside of CERN, is not off topic.
Eric, I
I'm
see you're
confused
getting
why you
upset.
would say
I
that's
don't
off
know what ad hominem attack.
How is that? How is that off topic?
Well, no,
How's that ad hominem?
yeah, that was not an ad hominem.
We can't
Because
just say
you said it
things
was
that aren't
off
true,
topic.
man.
That's ad hominem.
That's not ad hominem.
It's not off
you-
topic. It's
if
not
you
off
was-
topic. It's on
Okay.
topic.
Maybe it's not off topic, but it's not ad hominem. It
didn't-
just
Well,
felt a
thanks.
little
Thanks for
odd to
correcting
talk
yourself.
about the
Appreciate it.
statue
God.
outside.
Order.
God.
Order.
I'll mute.
He didn't call you like Mr. Off Topic. He just said
Eric's
this
getting a
was-
little riled up over
That's
here. I
okay.
like
Hey,
it.
Well,
no
it's
passion.
because it's not off topic.
Well, yeah, I think it's at the facility. I think it would probably be on topic to discuss the statue that's at the facility.
Judge rules.
I'm comfortable with that. I just wanted to add, and I'm giving props to forging thought. Sorry for throwing him out there real quick, but he did mention, all right, we were talking about Stephen Hawking. He didn't stop at saying the God particle can destroy the universe. He said the Hadron Collider particle accelerator required to even potentially do that would have to be built bigger than the Earth. And this is what I saw today in my research to even start to think about the numbers necessary to accomplish that. 19 countries fund this thing. One of them is Italy. That means, okay, that
20.
means Vatican approval was necessary. 20, thank you. Okay, anyway.
By the way, ad hominem is saying I'm getting riled up. By the way, yeah.
I mean, that's cool. If you're stuck on that, that's fine.
Well,
Okay.
you said it, not me. We got it.
I didn't say ad hominem. You did.
All right, so Shiva, statue of Shiva is in front of CERN. We got an image. Shiva is the god of destruction, right? But okay, I mean,
Real quick, so is an ad
Construction outside CERN. That was my.
an ad hominem, which we typically want to avoid, is when you make an argument against the person rather than their point. So
Correct. Like saying I'm getting riled up. But go ahead.
No, you first said that about the idea. I said it was off topic. You didn't say it was an ad hominem to get riled up. So
Are you getting a little riled up?
that's fine. We all do.
yeah,
Right.
It's okay.
It's all good.
All right, so I mean,
So the statue. So this is
Correct.
This is this is why there could be one there, because India gave the statue of Shiva to CERN as a gift to celebrate its association with CERN. So it wasn't CERN's decision. It was like how France gifted us the Statue of Liberty. They were like, here's a statue of Shiva because
Why that statue though?
well, I mean, India they worship Shiva, Vishnu.
They do not. Incorrect. India does not worship Shiva.
Okay, it's just in their pantheon then. So then
Right.
I don't want to
They
pretend
don't
that
worship
that's an
Shiva.
answer. No, you don't worship Shiva. I mean, all I know is that they're gods, and beyond that, I'm not looking through the spiritual lens.
They don't worship him, but they revere him, which is pretty close.
Reverence. So I don't know. Maybe to them, there's some sort of spiritual respect or connection.
It says this. It says Shiva is one of the most important gods in the Hindu pantheon and is considered a member of the Holy Trinity of Hinduism, with Brahma and Vishnu, a complex character. He may represent goodness, benevolence, and serve as the protector. So there could be a very good argument that they gave Shiva to CERN to protect from things.
That would be assuming that the majority of the people in India are Kabbalists, which they're not. There's plenty of Christians too.
Well, I mean, we can't. All we can do is basically assume as to why it was given to them.
I want to know who gave them that statue.
When
and
you,
what
when
they're-
you-
India,
Just so
who
you know,
has Shiva in their little pantheon, and they do revere Brahma, Vishnu. Like this would get me off topic if I started going this diatribe. But no, I mean, so I could see it. It could be to them through their lens of spirituality some kind of protective charm, or you could look at it as a negative, as maybe it's because it's all destructive. It's really that's
Right, but you say their lens. See, there's several different religions in India. In fact, Christianity is second behind Kabbalism in India.
We're talking
So,
about the main
Can I
one.
what I want to talk about is who are the people who suggested to use that statue?
may I
Who are the
interject?
people behind it?
I mean,
the delegates of
Shit,
you know.
that seems like a
Right,
I think
top of the ladder there.
May I?
Lori had something to interject. I think she got talked over.
Lori.
Can I interject? Shiva is the most powerful god in the Hindu pantheon and is one of the godheads in the Hindu Trinity. Shiva is said to dance between dimensions and believed to be at the core of the centrifugal force of the universe. Because of this, Shiva is responsible for death and destruction and creation. So there's kind of a left-right paradigm thing going on with Shiva. So it's hard telling. They may have put him there for protection, or we don't know. We don't see. The thing of it is there's so many unknowns when it comes to this. There are so many factions. How many countries again? 20 countries?
20.
20.
Okay. 20 countries have a hand in this. Do you honestly believe, or can you honestly predict, that each and every person associated with CERN has our best interest at heart?
I mean,
no, and that goes with a lot of
that
things.
yeah, that
so.
question could be proposed to our government, to every
Exactly.
media.
That is exactly what I'm saying, is that there are so many unknowns when it comes to CERN and the things that it's capable of doing.
Unknown necessarily isn't bad. Just like what the Hindu philosophy says about Shiva's role in destruction doesn't necessarily have a negative connotation. So,
well, that's a 44 percentile of people that do revere Shiva in India. That's not small.
Well, 40% versus 60% that don't.
no, it's not 60%. Like as you said, there's then Christianity and
Well, it is. There's 40% that revere Shiva and 60% that don't.
And
You
was
just
this
said
was
I
the
think what-
statue not issued to them in the 60s?
40% versus 60.
Yeah, but it's not
all-
60%, Eric. As you said, there's two other main religions, so that 60%
Correct.
is split up in half.
Divided
So
between
probably
the
like
other
40,
religions.
30.
And my whole point was, who are the 40% that decided to give them
Hindus.
that?
They
Hindus.
most
I
because
think
they
the matter is,
believe in
okay,
Shiva.
that you guys have looked, and you've obviously done your homework on this, okay, but you guys have looked into the scientific information that's put out there.
So then
Did
I
it
would ask.
ever-
Okay.
Did it ever occur to you that possibly the scientific community is not going to be forthcoming with information if they were doing something nefarious?
I mean, that's like the same question we could ask towards the idea that it is nefarious. Like, don't you think there are people who make
Exactly, that's
money
what I'm
off
saying.
of selling the
A de-
evil about CERN?
A debate on this on either side, I don't think is winnable, because we both, the people that understand CERN, okay, come on, the whole aspect of it, the whole symbology of it, it's built on the temple to Apollyon. We've got Shiva, the dances and the different dimensions. We've got CERN professionals, people that work for CERN, giving us warning signs of this and warning us about this. We've got Satan, Satan. I mean, magnets associated with solar axion telescope antenna. I know that's what it stands for. You've got but what I'm saying is you've got all of these things, and then
you have a lot more good things, Lori. You're focused on the negative, which I totally concur with, but also let's not forget all the good things of CERN too.
I'm not completely focused on the negative. I think that the science, what they have done is fantastic. Finding the Higgs boson, finding these three new never before seen, whatever they're calling them.
It's just quarks, we now have 20 quarks instead of less.
Top quarks.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we got top quarks.
I mean, but when you look at it, the whole thing of quantum physics or quantum computing associated with CERN has some real dangerous ramifications for it. Again, we're going into something that has never been gone into before. So we don't know the dangers at all.
I view it like, in layman's terms, that's every journey that's ever been, that's ever been partaken in, that's ever started. You begin going into the uncharted, into the unknown. And I understand we don't necessarily understand the ramifications until we get there, which is maybe the fear that you feel, vindicated in having. However, I don't look at any of this with.
Too late? Wouldn't that be too late? I mean, if the ramifications and
my thing is, who funds and supports CERN? Who are these people?
20 nations worldwide. We're talking about the, Italy, Netherlands, Germany. I mean, literally governments that aren't exactly up and up.
America was trying to create our own super collider back in like the early 90s, but it just became too much of a burden that we're like, you know what, we're going to let Europe do it.
We have hadron colliders here. I live 30 miles from the Fermi lab here. We've got another one in Brookhaven, New York.
Super collider.
Oh, I know about
super collider. I know we have, but we tried to make our own CERN, and it just started to cost too much, and we just said, you know what, Europe, you guys deal with it.
You take care of that.
Exactly. Yeah. But there are 300 CERN colliders worldwide. It's not just, just sort of the one in Geneva is the largest hadron collider, but there are 300 other ones worldwide.
But the main one, it's, if we're going spiritual versus scientific, how can you not notice that in France it's situated what's called Saint Genus Pauli, and that Pauli name comes from the Latin Apollicum, and it's believed that in Roman times the temple existed in the honor of Apollo, and the people who live there believe that it's a gateway to the underworld.
Yep.
It's
Oh.
interesting that CERN's built in the same spot. I mean, that's again, we can go back and forth about this. I believe in science, and I also believe in spirituality, and it's just there's so many different coincidences from the goddess Shiva being outside CERN to that this place is built in what was believed in Roman times to be the gateway to an underworld.
But a lot of these beliefs, just as you're pointing out, just as the idea that is going to open portals is old. The idea that you know, what you just said comes from Roman times. It's like, but we're here now, and visibly, at the very least, none of that stuff has appeared to happen. So just placating on that fear just seems kind of like you're spinning the wheels.
And it's not. It's who's running the show is always my question.
Who do you think is running the show?
Very evil people, 100%. That's my opinion.
I don't believe that the people running CERN, or all of them, have our best interest at heart. I think
Right.
there's nefarious agendas taking place, and they are trying to somehow go further than just trying to find quarks.
And I can expand on what I was talking about as far as where it's built. I mean, Apollyon, the verse states in Revelations, to him was given the key of the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in Greek tongue, hath his name Apollyon.
Apollyon.
Now, try telling somebody who's very spiritual that some of the things in the Bible is a conspiracy theory.
Well,
and I even mentioned about the incantation to Coronos, talking about opening up doors that don't have the keys, and that's
real quick. I want to mention, like, regarding speculating that, of course, you know, in any hugely funded think tank, anything, I understand, and it's almost like status quo to presume, sometimes even rightly so, that there's something, you know, those skeezy, you know, people are doing up there, and I relate to that. I usually share the same bias, but again, that's something that we are simply assuming without evidence. And aside from that, all of the religious stuff, the stuff from the Bible, like, I am an atheist, so the spiritual stuff that you bring up to me, it doesn't. It
Just a lot of coincidences, I guess.
I'm not connecting any dots anymore.
Like we talked about Shiva, right? The Hindu goddess.
Indeed, which I look as a beautiful metaphor. I understand even.
But
like,
do you know that the Shiva is the ancient Apollyon, the goddess of destruction? Same thing, sitting on exactly the same site right now. That's too many coincidences.
But India doesn't, like, literally, they don't necessarily believe all destruction is negative. Sometimes you have to break down.
Correct.
To build up.
So there's a lot of
destruction is bad. Is you know, we can't sit here and just say that's a certainty that, you know, Shiva destruction bad. You know,
no, but Shiva comes from right. No, I agree.
Neither of us, you know, are gonna have the answers, and I agree with Lori's sentiment. You know, go on.
It's almost like saying if someone looked at Jesus as only an end times deity, like, that's it, he's here to bring up upon the apocalypse, when no, you know, you a lot of people will have a very valid argument that the idea of him is more than just that. There's forgiveness, there's this, is that. So if we are being religious and spiritual, we have to extend that same type of respect and ideology to Shiva, that it's all just isn't negative. Just because they are different than us doesn't mean they are evil or anything like that. It's just like there's 100 different religions out there, and you know, they all need to be respected.
And I'd be interested in I don't know what decade that Shiva statue was gifted over to CERN's location. Like,
and I don't think all religions should be respected, without a doubt. You believe Satanists should be respected?
Actually, yeah.
Why?
Well,
they should be allowed to speak and
they
have
should
their
have every right that
but respected, that's pushing it.
They should have every right that every religion is extended to them, as long as they're not.
Why should they be respected, though?
I mean, I knew some Satanists back in the day. I was never a Satanist myself. No, really, I wasn't. But the ones I knew were really in it for fun, and they were legitimate Satanists. They had a card and everything, and it was just indulging in
Did you
things that
respect them?
I saw no reason to not respect them. They extended
My
me
own
respect.
question is, why should they be respected?
Well, it's not. I mean, if we're being religious here, it's not up for me to judge them. That's
We're not
for
being-
a
we're never
greater
being-
judge. I can respect them.
Like, there's a lot of atheists that are
No,
into
no,
Satanism
should
just for
be
the.
respected.
if they've done
should-
nothing wrong to me as
Correct.
a person, I will respect them.
That
I
would be
can
a
judge one on the whole.
LaVeya Satanist. That would
Well,
be
But I'm not talking about like Satanists that do, whatever
Rituals
to
and-
hurt people. And
should they be
Yeah, no.
respected? Why not respect them though?
I don't respect anybody that
Why?
hurts
I mean,
anybody.
listen, let's not be hyperbolic.
their
We
own
can
thing.
obviously identify when there is like,
But
something feels wrong,
I could-
when you're
Like
sacrificing
the goddess of
animals and
destruction
stuff
being
like that.
outside CERN.
I could turn.
Not at all.
I could turn my
Completely
scope.
hyperbolic.
Exactly the same
I
thing.
could turn my scope right
Nope.
to even Christianity and its past, and
Sure.
and even some of the things that still happen to this day.
Good
and,
point.
And look at it in the same way that we're describing,
If we-
harm from any religion.
If you just focus on the evils of Christianity, one could be like, well, that's evil. If you just focus on, the negativities allegedly of Shiva and why it's there, you're going to come to that conclusion. So as somebody who likes science, I do hope you're open-minded to the idea that also Shiva could have been put there for non-nefarious purposes.
But
I am open to that
we're not-
idea. Do I believe it? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Can
yeah. Go ahead, Lori.
Can we circle? Because I found something that, because you guys had asked for proof on strange things that have happened that can be validated. I told you guys about Sergio Bertolucci. He's the director
Yes.
of research and science and computing at CERN. And okay, so he said the Titanic machine LHC may possibly create or discover previously unimagined scientific phenomena or unknown unknowns. For instance, an extra dimension. Out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. On November 1st, the same day the big HLC started, something strange happened at Airbus A3030. It says, on behalf of Air Comet registration performing flight A7301 from Madrid, Spain to Santa Cruz, Bolivia, with about 170 passengers. It did not land in Santa Clara in Bolivia, but in Santa Cruz, Canary Islands, and is known as the Riff. Now, it also says that Bertolucci later got in touch to confirm that, yes, indeed, there would be an open door, but that even with the power of the LHC at his disposal, would only be able to hold it open for a small amount of time. It's very, very tiny time lapse, 10 to 15 seconds. But during that amount of time, we would be able to peer into this open door either by getting something out or sending something in. Of course, adds Bertolucci, after this tiny moment, the door would again shut, bringing us back into our normal fourth dimension world. Now, this is what happened in 2008 when they first started with a very, very low amount of electricity, of power.
Strange things happening and proof, so to me, there's a difference between a strange thing happening and proving that a strange thing happened, as opposed to proving the strange thing happened because of CERN. You understand what I'm saying?
And again, we're never going to come to terms on that because, we're not going to get told the truth. We're only told certain things on the internet. I think we can all agree with that the internet is pretty much.
It's a wild child.
Yeah.
It's almost an abyss.
Yeah, let's call it that. Yeah. So I mean, when we go to research these things, of course they're not going to look at. We're not going to wake up in the morning and have the headlines that say Geneva, Switzerland, CERN opens portal, demons come through, news at 11.
Oh, and I wanted to. Well, okay, and on that point, you mentioned, how do we know that there are not scientists that have nefarious intentions? You're right, we don't, but I view that as and I'm not condoning any nefarious scientists that are involved, but maybe there's just some scientists there that are really, really rock hard about getting the, as much accomplished as possible. But I'm hoping there's some sort of I don't know, regulation going on where they don't get to go all crazy. But I really
We don't know.
there's a lot there's a lot of unknowns in this.
Where'd the other guests go? I want to talk about wormholes. We haven't even talked about wormholes yet.
Oh, they're still there.
And
Let's talk
again,
about wormholes.
we're never going to get the truth on that. I mean, here we've got scientists talking about them, but now have they actually opened them? I don't know. Can we speculate? Yeah, we're going to speculate on it because of the strange things. Like I said, we've got within the first 24 hours of CERN coming online at the highest voltage they've ever come online at 13.6 teravolts, highest power of any machine ever built in the history of humanity. Within 24 hours, we've got the Schumann resonance with a strange hum. We've got a tear in the atmosphere that's lasted 14 hours. We've got strange weather taking place, which just so happens to be in the same exact place that they're trying to find dark matter, the same thing that CERN's doing over there.
How much energy did you say again?
13.6 teravolts.
I had 10 petawatts, which is 10 quadrillion, but regardless, that's more power than all the power stations on this planet combined.
Where the hum's originating from? I apologize if I overspoke.
Sure. What?
Where the hum that you were referring to?
The Schumann resonance.
Because it's gonna say I feel like I'm making excuses, so please don't mistake me for that. But here's a possibility, and it's totally possible I'm wrong. But I'm aware that there's some forms of algae in the ocean that do also hum. I remember watching a whole documentary about them.
That would not affect the Schumann resonance. We're talking the Schumann resonance.
I did too. I looked at that too.
The Schumann resonance is something that it's the hum of the earth, the frequency that the earth vibrates at. And can we at least agree on that much teravolts and that much electricity and magnetism could have some sort of negative effect on our planet?
Yeah, 10 petawatts is insane.
Yeah, well, we're talking 13.6 teravolts.
I mean,
for sure, anything could be possible. I'd like to point out that you do keep, Laura, you do keep going back to the idea that there was a tear in the magnetosphere, and as far back as 2003, they've have figured out that the magnetic shield is drafty, like a house with a window stuck open.
I understand that,
so
but what I'm saying is
it's not that you can't group that in. You kind of got to take that out of the equation and just use your other two, because that tear has happened very often.
It has. I agree with that. But within 24 hours of
but if it happens every day, if it happens every few days, it's like, how do you prove that magnetic tear wouldn't have happened if CERN
I'll take
didn't
that out
happen?
of the equation. I'll take that out of the equation.
I mean, yeah, in terms of like just entertaining chaos theory, whatever can happen will happen at times, and that could be just, I understand your position, Lori, but it could very well be just a coincidence as something that does happen casually.
It could be. I'm not the person that believes in coincidences or happenstances. I think everything happens for a reason or because of something.
Right.
But okay, we're definitely.
I wanted to talk about wormholes.
This guy loves wormholes, dude. Let's go, dude. Let's get deep.
Let's talk about them.
I want to talk about wormholes.
It's fascinating to me. Wormholes are fascinating. We've seen them.
If I say
when we were kids, if you were growing up on Star Trek. I mean, wormholes.
Yeah.
Do you think a wormhole could be opened up by the LHC?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
on topic.
The reason
people who work there tell you absolutely they can be.
I would agree with that. Honestly, I'm gonna sit here and agree. Like, because of science and what little we still are learning, the idea that we think, you can kind of fold the universe over on itself and you kind of get to point A to point B quicker. Who knows? So I can't sit here and be like, no, I disagree with that.
We'd be disingenuous here. We're
right.
So
you're talking to somebody who believes we went to the moon, just not the way they told us they did. So
got you.
Time travel
there myself. I think
all that good stuff.
Nice bike ride there.
It was a little jog.
Yes.
So you believe we went to the moon in those little tin cans? Can I ask you guys a question? Like one serious question. I've asked this to everyone.
Should I answer the moon question first, or you want to go for the
real quick sidebar? Who shot the footage of the moon landing?
Grassy Knoll.
I knew that's exactly what I was going to say.
Who shot the footage of it? Because since we had never been there, who shot that footage? I'm still waiting. I've heard people tell me that
They sent up a
shot a
photographer.
camera out and it landed on the moon, and that's how they. But if you want to believe that, that's cool. But
I don't know. I don't know who
like
shot
that, that's the craziest thing. That I mean, there's so many different reasons why that's garbage. How it worked out.
My
But
favorite
who shot
theory.
the footage if they've never been there?
My favorite theory goes back to the idea that NASA doctors photos. Like there is one photo of an astronaut going on who was purportedly kind of out in space, but they used that footage or they used that photo from a training session, to kind of butter up and make that look good.
More palatable for laymen.
Right,
And I
exactly.
understand the Earth is so big that of course the other one is that they had to put all these pictures together to create the Earth, and I get that. It's just like they show this marble, and I'm not a flat earther, I'm not a spear earther, I'm a matrix earther. But I digress. The whole thing with the moon landing again that nobody's ever been able to answer.
I think
Not
what
even
you're trying-
NASA.
I think
Who
the point
got
you're
the
trying to
footage
make-
from the moon of the landing if we weren't ever on the moon?
I
And
think the point you're trying to make, Eric, is that we never get told the truth about anything. To tell you about
right,
anything.
never a straight answer.
We
Got
never
it.
get a straight answer on stuff.
At
like
least
that.
it feels
we're
like
not going to
that.
get one on that. We're not going to get one about CERN.
Although there
I
are
can
lots of geniuses
Exactly. I can sit
at
here all
NASA
night.
who are not doing this.
I could sit here all night and Google scientific facts about CERN. I can't.
Equally, I could also Google all the spiritual aspects
Absolutely.
and theories too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's not going to prove who's right and who's wrong.
No, I don't, we're not going to
Yeah.
achieve that.
No, we're not going to achieve that. I mean,
At
here's
the very
thing.
least,
I mean, I thought we were trying to because it was a debate, but that's
yeah.
just me.
Well, I'm just
We're
celebrating.
agreeing too much.
No,
very least.
there's no right. There's no right
I don't
or
know
wrong
about
here
that.
because we're not going to know the true
I think we
answer on
are.
this. We're not going. We're not going to understand the true nature of this. I'm going to stay with the fact that there are things that are going on that we cannot explain. I believe that there are factions in CERN that don't have our best interest at heart, that have nefarious plans for the Hadron Collider. I think that these scientists, these physicists who have more degrees on their wall than I have got wallpaper on mine, telling us and warning us of the implications of CERN. I think I'm going to go what they say and what they're warning us rather than a lay person telling me there's nothing to do with
Is that not the minority though of the scientific community in general? I mean, I know there's always dissenting voices, and I know often, any dissenting voices can be ostracized, made to be a pariah. But in this case, it's literally a small number of scientists. Like,
but don't
we have a
don't they
finite
have
number?
to have some sort of concern on, not to use that.
Heyo.
I mean,
every time I say that, I picture people going, concern, I see what she did. No, I mean, each one
You
of these
started it.
one of these scientists are concerned with a certain faction of this. They're concerned that if we do this, this could happen. If we do this, this can happen. And let me tell you something. Like I said, they are far more educated on this topic than any one of us up here on this panel.
Right. But they wouldn't be scientists if they didn't ponder that. Again, I go back to the idea that scientists, well-educated geniuses, thought the atmosphere would catch on fire if we dropped an atomic bomb.
And I wouldn't be a fringe thinker if I just went with what the scientists said and not looked at the other factions.
Right. But also, too, at some point, the people who thought the atmosphere was going to catch on fire, after a certain amount of years have passed, you're like, okay, maybe that's not, we can let that concern go.
I'm going to go ahead and concede. I want to say concern.
Wormholes, man. I want to talk about wormholes.
What do you think? First of all, what do you think science as a whole's responsibility is towards making sure? Like, do you think they have a responsibility to making sure they don't destroy the world? If they had some type of, and do you think there's any type of governing body that's over top of that, or do you think they're just kind of doing their own thing and no one really checks on them? But what would you say? And is there a percentage? Like, what if there's if there's a number? What if there's a 0.0001% chance they can destroy the world, or a 99% chance they can destroy the world? Do you have any beliefs about that?
Good question.
As human beings, I don't think anybody wants their discovery to go unnoticed. So as a scientist, as somebody discovering something, if what you discover destroys everything or you're pushing too hard, it's not gonna work in your favor. So I think there is some type, even without a world governance, I believe to a certain extent there is some type of self-governance within that. You could have, a rogue guy. We could have a James Bond movie where he's like, I'm gonna, screw you guys. I'm going rogue here. But I think most of them, at the very least, because of a human ego, they're not necessarily like, how do you be the world's biggest bad guy if there's no world to be a bad guy in?
Right.
So if you're gonna destroy things, like unless you're like, someone who wants to
Can
just
I
murder
interject in that?
suicide everybody.
Let me just say this. After the first atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer came out and he said, "Now I have become death,
The Bhagavad
the
Gita.
destroyer of worlds."
Correct.
So, he even with his greatest invention, watching this, his creation, knew that he had opened up a door. He had opened up Pandora's box and he could never put her back in it.
Well, he knew his invention was, going to be used negatively.
Exactly. So how do we know we are not on that same path?
Well-
I'm sorry, but when you've got 24 nations, when you look at knowing that the governments of this world are all about them, about money, about power, about notoriety, they don't.
And
We're-
keeping a
we're
population
useless eaters
codependent
to
that
them.
needs to
We're-
stay alive.
We're useless eaters to these people. They don't care.
Without us, they wouldn't have what they have. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
wouldn't have their control. They wouldn't have their power over us if we weren't there to be controlled or whatever the case is.
without us poors, how do you got the riches? You know what I mean? You can't be
Yeah.
rich if there's no poors.
Gotta have a
So
bottom to be a top. I mean, have a top.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, the same thing can apply to this. We can sit there and we can say that this is the greatest invention. We found the God particle. We now know where we came from. We now have all of these things. They just found these 3 new quarks. We are making. When does it stop?
we don't know where we came from,
But where
we
does it
know
stop?
the essential building blocks of how we are formed. It does that. The God particle does not say where we came from.
No.
It just says, hey, this field, this particle allows mass to be essentially brought out of nowhere and given
Right,
to
and
something.
created. Exactly.
it's
But
not-
where do we stop? Where do we draw the line? Do we draw the line at this 13.6 teravolts, or do we shut down CERN for another 5 years and amp it up to what, 25.6 teravolts? Where do we stop? When do we draw the line and say what is safe for the planet and what is not safe for the planet? Because I really don't think that the people at the top that are making money out of this are going to push the stop button on this. As long as they can continue to make money and have the notoriety, we're going to
Pursuit of
continue to have these experiments.
You do focus on a lot of the negatives, but I also agree. I have this same thing where I want to think badly about those that are in control or that are the 1% or whatever the case. But
Well, it's human nature to seek out negative.
yes,
It's human nature. It's in us, whether how you believe we were formed, but as cavemen, as back in the day, we would come out of our cave looking for what's going to hurt us, looking for what could prevent us from going on. It's instilled in us to kind of focus on the negativity.
But
But here's the thing: the difference is focusing on the negative or putting my head in the sand and pretending that the negative doesn't exist.
No,
I could come out here and I could say, "Oh my God, they've done such great things. They've done this, this, and this, and this." But in the back of my mind, and in the back of everybody's mind, I think a lot of people have the same question as I do: is where do we draw the line on this?
I understand being cautious.
I don't think-
absolutely.
I don't think you can call it putting. This is my opinion. I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't think in this instance, I don't think it's putting your head in the sand here. I think you're at a beach and you're putting your head in a bucket and you're not paying attention to what else is around. I don't think you're ignoring the bigger picture here. I think you're focused on the smaller picture. that makes sense.
And I think I'm focused on the larger picture. Where does
What
this
is the
stop?
bigger
Where does
picture?
this
The
end?
larger implications.
What
of
is the bigger
worst
picture?
outcome.
Where does this end? Like I said, are we gonna in 6 months? Are they gonna say, you know what, we got what we wanted on these 3 new quarks? Let's shut it down and see what else we can do. Let's take it up one more notch. When is that one more notch going to be?
What is the bigger picture? That
Well,
I've
what
always
I'm
been
saying
curious
is
about
it's going to be too late once we hit that point of no return. Once they push that button and something happens, then it's too late to stop it.
Why is the unknown so scary? Why is not knowing where it could go always revert to a negative?
How can it be a positive?
Well, I mean, that's not fair.
Well, if you're
but
being
that's fine.
if you're being cautious, I mean, I understand. Look,
That kind of is my point as well. Like, I it seems, one is focused on the negative, whereas, you're like, I don't know.
look, we're
Can I
like,
address
like batteries.
something in the chat room? So,
Sure.
and it goes back to who filmed the landing on the moon, since nobody's been there. Forging thought: NASA mounted a camera that exposes on the descent stage of the lunar module and pointed it at the steps. How did NASA mount a camera there when we've never been there?
It's part of the lower landing unit.
What? Like,
Part of the-
It's part of the space shuttle.
Or
It's part of the lower descent unit.
oh,
Yeah.
but that just
Gotcha.
wasn't during the descent.
Dude,
When this happened, that
yeah.
just wasn't mentioned. Got it.
or just like anybody who's by themselves, you have to set it up first and then walk back in and walk back out again. You know what I mean? Like,
and they
it could
did
be
Gotcha.
as simple as that. Like, oh, let's put it out. Like, we land, we put the camera out, we make sure we film us walking out.
Yeah. That's
It wasn't there the whole time. It wasn't just
Right.
like,
I missed that part about the whole thing. Like,
What's the
now, while they're announcing it, now they're shooting the camera down to land on the moon, and they just left that part out. Well, we
what's-
won't know.
No, hold on. They didn't shoot it separately. It was a leg of the lower descent unit as they were coming down to land on the moon. A leg swings out and they had a camera mounted on it
And during the moon,
as part of the module.
when they were describing play by play when it was going on, they just left that part out. Got it.
Well, I mean, when they say, okay, the module's landing, the camera's attached to the module, I don't know. What would they have said?
Oh,
they
stop
were
it.
landing on the moon, so they might have like left out the detail that, oh yeah, the
They
camera's
just
on
left
the
out
leg.
the
They
detail
were
of the
focused
camera
on the
that's
moon
pointing
landing.
back up, showing the moon landing. Got it.
Maybe they didn't want to, go so
It doesn't matter. All that footage is lost anyway.
behind the curtain, and be like, hey, this
That
They
is
taped
true.
over it. They
He's
taped
right.
over it.
Apparently,
No
NASA
no
lost
original
all the
footage of the moon landing.
landing footage anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they taped over it.
But like, but here's the thing. Like, there's so many copies of it. Why do you need the original at this point? Like at that time, when it was
'Cause
deleted,
copies
they
can
weren't
be
saving.
doctored.
What?
That's why. Because copies can be doctored. That's why you need the original.
I mean, if they did it on a sound stage, the original could have been doctored too, if we want to go there.
Correct. Touche. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Are we? I don't want to be the one to be like, hey guys,
Do you think we?
CERN.
Do you think you guys is?
For fuck's sake.
Getting a
Can I say
bourbon on.
that? My bad.
Do you think you covered everything you want to cover, or do you want to?
Wormholes.
Do we do a closing?
Keep saying it. Wormholes.
You guys want to discuss wormholes that could possibly be opened at the LHC?
Well,
No.
I want to know the guest take on wormholes.
There, I go. That's where I find my my fishing lures.
I mean, I'm done. I mean, I think I've presented everything. I mean, like I said, I'm not
If-
trying to persuade anybody. I'm just
Presenting
and I'm
our
sorry if I sound like I'm focusing on the negative. I think I'm focusing on the realism of it, or the reality of what could happen if we don't have some sort of handle on this. I
do
believe
not
we've
have to-
opened up. I believe we've opened up Pandora's box. That's
Hey,
and you do not have to
real
be
quick.
apologetic of sharing your perspective. Yes.
Real quick, if you just go backwards the way we open, so you can start with Josh, then Eli, then Eric, then Lori, and just put like a bow on your stance and what you feel like you conveyed here, and then just a minute or two, and your stance leaving, if it's the same or different or whatever, but basically just like I think that I showed that blah, 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 or I demonstrated that blah, 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 whatever.
All right, Lori,
So-
would be
No, go backwards since we opened the other way. Josh, go first.
Okay.
Oh, snap,
Well,
diggity.
my stance remains. I'm still to the fact that I did not take over anybody's spot to be here. Eli asked me to be here.
Yes.
Eric, I still want to know if spirituality takes into account the position 69 and above all else, CERN. I am not too concerned about CERN. I think the overall good outweighs the possibility. Like what we do have, the things we can touch, taste, feel, and know what CERN did outweighs the could be's, the would be's, the what ifs regarding CERN. So that's my point.
Eli.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was touch, tasting, and feeling post-it notes. Well, honestly, at this point, I'm just happy that we had two completely opposing views and we're able to have a discussion, regardless of not having any conclusion.
What a non-answer.
That's what I live for. My position remains the same, though. And I don't want to just piggyback off of Josh's. I am very excited with the scientific process, the deconstruction, and helping understand everything that we possibly can. I'm biased. I'm a fan of science, and I am not that concerned with CERN. I don't have a pretty conclusion or speech or rant like I normally would. I'm just happy that we had this discussion, and I'm happy that we were here. And I'm sorry again, forging thought.
So, Eric, you got something to end on.
Wormholes.
I called it. You owe me a soda pop.
Next time we can. No, very cool discussion. I'm right in the middle, spiritual and scientific. And thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And Miss Lori, you started it. If you want to finish it up.
I'm still going to go with the spirituality of it. I believe that there's a lot of symbolism that, we didn't have a chance to look at or talk about tonight. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of esoteric things going on with CERN. I appreciate the science. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the science. I appreciate the things that they've done to further get us to where this universe came from, the Big Bang, so to speak, the God particle. I'm glad that, they're doing this, but I firmly believe that there needs to be a stopping point. There needs to be a place where we can say that enough is enough. Let's not put the planet in any risk.
And I'd like to add just a 2-second offer, Lori. If you want to continue this discussion, please feel free. You are always welcome at Stuck in the Middle and vice versa. If you'd allow Josh and I.
You are always welcome over on Global Watchman News. You're always welcome at Rise of the New World Order. We have Wednesday nights with Eric and I and author Jeff Hayes, author of the number one biblical prophecy book.
Best-selling biblical prophecy in the UK and US.
In the US, yes.
That's right.
So that was one question I kind of had. We had a link for everybody. Eric, do you have something, a platform, everybody else's links in the description, but I'll add yours if you have one.
Yeah.
You know what? Right after you add it, my station will be nuked anyway.
Eric
Don't
will
say
just
that.
watch channels.
The Sentinel knows the truth, but it'll be nuked. It's-
Eric
No,
will
Your
than I
channel is
do.
going to get pulled through a wormhole.
Nice pull.
Guys, thanks.
so many times, yeah.
Thanks for coming on. We do appreciate it. Thanks for keeping it civil. And all your chat showed up. Your fans showed up. Everybody seemed to keep it civil. Thanks for coming on. Sage, thanks for co-hosting. I'm going to kick you guys out on the panel. And bring Sage back. But thank you guys. I know that doesn't, but I'm just trying to do an outro. You can lose your mind later. But thank you guys for coming on and being respectful. I appreciate it. We'll host debates here only on this channel. This is the Cold Beer Court. And I appreciate you guys coming on and keeping it respectful. And I'll put your links in the description. Hopefully everybody checks you out if they have more questions or want more information. Thank you guys for coming on.
Welcome to the resistance. Peace.
See you guys.
Laheim.
Now I can kill that. Now you were freaking out, Sage. What was the matter?
I'm losing my mind over here. First of all, I didn't get a last say.
This is it, right? We're still on the channel. Say whatever the fuck you want.
Oh.
If you'd stop whining, you got all this time.
Can you tell me how high bypass turbo fans make contrails?
Yeah, I can actually.
All right.
They actually hold a greater section, cross section of air, and a bubble behind them, and actually hold onto the air longer, produce more heat, which will trap more moisture, and will actually leave a longer contrail. But that's it's just coming from a jet engine mechanic. I don't know,
Lots of
but no, I enjoyed the debate. I ain't gonna put anybody down. They did a good job.
They did. I had a good time. I'm glad they came on and did this. But I did. I had a good time. I was losing my mind. I actually think I channeled Johnny and his frustration. Actually,
Surely not.
at some point, I think I did. But no, it was good. It was a good time. It was a good time. So.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up on, if you're watching on Cold Beer Court, the video is going to end here. This was just the debate. But all the rest of the channels are going Sage. Stick around for just a second. But that was it for Cold Beer Court. Thank you guys for joining us. Let me play some music and we'll kill this channel.
Thanks, everybody.
Check out Sage on Sage News. I guess I could put his link in there if we have to. If that's something like we got to do.
Followed them.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
You might not wanna get close. We a little wild war, covered in tattoos. Run it up, taking all the views. Stepping on place, feeling the fear. I know you feeling it in the air. Whole squad wearing all black. We back to the bone, raising a fire alone. We ain't never needed nobody. Give me 6 feet, this is my party. Ain't